from the vault, high atop the pastoral center of the Diocese of Camden, you're listening to Talking Catholic.
Hey everybody, once again to Talking Catholic. I'm Pete Sanchez, and with me, as always, is Michael Walsh. Mike, how are you today?
Very good, sir. I'm enjoying a beautiful spring day, and by enjoying it, I mean the 4 minutes I was outside of my office walking to the car as we were leaving the office to come where we are now. Checked the watch on the thermostat on my... whatever it is on my watch. I'm having one of those days. I'm going to be fighting for words all day long. I'm warning you now. But I looked at my watch and it said it was 60 degrees outside. And I was like, oh, man, that sounds like a beautiful day to be outside. I wish I had been.
You know, first off, I think you could call it a thermo watch, right?
I prefer to call it an Apple Watch. But
Apple Watch.
It's,
thermostat, you were saying thermo watch. But you're the fourth person who I've talked to who've mentioned spring today.
Well, 60 degrees in February will definitely give rise to thoughts of spring, I'll tell you that.
It will, and I think the groundhog did not see his shadow on Saturday.
Apparently the early, what's that, an early spring is what it was called for?
I think, yeah, if he does not see his shadow, spring is right around the corner.
Well, I will tell you this,
tradition.
I've never believed that little rodent before, and I'm not believing him now. Although, what I didn't realize, I was watching the news this weekend, there's another one in Staten Island that apparently they do, I don't know, I think his name's Chuck or something like that, and he pops his head out, and he called the same thing. I think there's a network of whatever those rodents are.
There's a council of groundhogs?
Yes, apparently.
Punxsutawney Phil is probably the grand groundhog. Groundhog. There you go.
All right. But yes, so a beautiful spring day that apparently I missed. But there's supposed to be a couple this week, so maybe I'll see a later one.
Yeah, get out, while we can, because it's still February. But there's actually a lot of cool events coming up.
Oh, wait, before we talk about a couple of the upcoming events, I just want to say that I went to the Mass for Consecrated Women Women Religious this weekend at Holy Family Parish, and It was beautiful. I want to give two shout-outs. One to the wonderful religious women who were there. It was just beautiful. They celebrated a number of jubilarians. It was really very, very, very sweet. And Bishop Sullivan worked his way through being ill at the Mass, but in the middle, even though he had a coughing fit in the middle of his homily, he was able to pull together and really gave a great homily and really encouraged, first of all, vocations in general, second of all, vocations to religious life, but then specifically thanking the religious women who were on hand and the great work that they've done. At least one celebrated their 70th anniversary as a religious woman. Yeah, it was really wonderful. You can see photographs of it up on the diocesan Facebook page.
Okay.
But it was really, really sweet. And the second shout out I got to give to Holy Spirit High School's choir and musicians who were jaw-droppingly spectacular in their singing at the Mass and playing at the Mass. It was, so much so that they did a great job. I always get annoyed when musicians or choirs perform at a Mass. They didn't perform. You could tell they were the choir, but it was so beautiful that you just couldn't, you could not be taken aback by the beauty of their song. It was really, truly wonderful. So
sorry, I missed it.
It was great.
That was Saturday morning?
It was Saturday morning, yeah. 11 a.m. It was really nice.
Oh,
yeah.
Well,
and I think
awesome.
I think the snow squall we'd gotten the day or two before had sort of kept people from coming out. So for those of you who weren't able to make it, just know that the sisters are still praying for you and continue to pray for them because it was just truly remarkable.
Yeah, were any of our favorite, some of our favorites.
We don't call them our favorites.
No,
but they are often guests.
Show.
Yes, the CFRs were not there. It was actually they were the only order I didn't see there, as a matter of fact.
But they had a day of reflection.
Yeah, I think they weren't able to make it up.
Yeah, I couldn't make it to the day of reflection in AC.
Yeah, but the Dominicans, the Franciscans, all the orders were there in good order, so it was nice.
Good order.
Good order.
Were in good order.
I'm telling you, it's going to be one of those podcasts where it's just going to be me struggling for words all day long. For those of you who are wondering, we're out of the vault. We're recording it on the road, and it's currently 5:45 in the afternoon or in the evening, and my brain, I think, is turned off for the day. So Pete may be carrying this podcast.
fair warning.
Yeah, exactly.
But we have, well, thank you so much for all the sisters and for all the orders, consecrated men and women religious. Thank you for your ministry. As you're coming on up, Sunday, February 24th, it is Black Catholic History Month in this month of February, and Bishop Sullivan will be celebrating a Mass at St. Charles Borromeo in Sicklerville on Sunday, February 24th at 2:30 p.m. St. Charles Borromeo is at 176 Stagecoach Road. So come on out at 2:30 in the afternoon on Sunday, February 24th with Bishop Sullivan to celebrate Black Catholic History Month. And for more info, contact Joanne DeGennaro at 856-583-2907. And this is a cool event. In Galloway, New Jersey at Assumption Regional Catholic School next month, March 2nd. The Youth, Young Adult, and Campus Ministries is sponsoring an event called Missionary Discipleship and You. And this is going to be, it's from 9:30 a.m. to 6 p.m. Saturday, March 2nd for youth, for teens in grades 8 through 12. So junior high, high school age are invited. This should be a great day, all-day event of creating missionary disciples, young leaders in the church. And the Assumption Regional Catholic School is at 146 South Pitney Road in Galloway, New Jersey. For more info, call Greg Coogan at 856-583-2908. Again, this is Missionary Discipleship and You on creating youth leaders, Saturday, March 2nd, 9:30 a.m. to 6 p.m. And then, Mike, we just got confirmation of one more event coming up pretty soon.
We did?
And I'm excited for this. I'm excited for the iRace for Vocations.
Yes, the teaser video went up online today to inspire people to go. It's back at Washington Lake Park again, which it's our favorite park to hold it. Although it's a bit earlier this year, maybe a Parker run. We'll have to see.
Yeah, March 31st.
March 31st. Yeah, usually it's around. Usually it's late April, but they moved it up a little earlier this year to make sure that they were able to get the park. What we found over the years is that people really just love that park, and they're more willing to change the date than change the location. So to appease everyone, and it's a fantastic venue for the event. And they've always had great weather, so I'm sure Father Romano will somehow figure out how to get it to be a beautiful spring day like it is today, come March 31st.
Well, no doubt it'll be a wonderful day. There'll be music, there'll be fun, there'll be runs, walks, 5K run and 1 mile walk, and beautiful Mass with Bishop Sullivan. So register now at CamdenPriest.org/iRace4, the number 4, vocations.
And you can also go on, I think it's Facebook to see the video. You can go to iRace4 Vocations, once again with the letter 4, or number 4, as well as Camden Priest on Instagram, and all the other places, and Twitter as well.
Yeah, so it's on all these social media sites that you know and love.
Yes.
Just look for it.
Or dread and avoid. But yeah, that's good stuff.
Well, we're as Mike said, we're out of the vault, and we're here. We're out of the vault because coming up, the USCCB announced a National Marriage Week. And it's coming up February. It's be February 7th and ending on the 14th, of course, which is Valentine's Day.
I did not put 2 and 2 together. That's how bad my brain is right now. I did not put that Marriage Week was ending on Valentine's Day. That is so beautiful.
Well, it is a marriage.
Or hackneyed, one or the other. But it's in one way or the other. It's a nice time. I like it.
Yeah, well, and for more information and resources, visit foryourmarriage.org on that. But we're very happy to have here. Mike, do you want to do the honors?
No, because my brain is terrible right now. No. But I will say that I am planning on using this episode to get as much information as we can out about Father Rob Sinatra and his brother Frank, because we happen to be here with their sister Kathy and her husband Mike.
Michael O'Callahan, thank you very much.
O'Callahan. So thank you very much for letting us into your home, and we're going to make sure that Father Rob pays for this. I promise.
Excellent. That's fantastic. We're excited.
So when we were looking at the calendar coming up, and we were thinking about doing a marriage-related podcast. So Father Sinatra is the unofficial third co-host of the podcast, and Pete reached out to him, and he was like, "Hey, I got somebody for you. Why don't you talk to my sister and her husband? They'll be great." So how much do you love Father Rob right now?
Love him.
Yes.
Love him right now.
Yeah, I was away when this all happened.
Oh, good. Getting Shanghai.
So Mike really just found out about it.
Okay, well there you go. All right. How long?
So that's how our marriage works.
What's that?
That's
The best ones always have some ludicrous thing that makes it work. Not telling each other things. My wife routinely doesn't tell me things. That's how we've 19 years. You guys are 23 years.
Coming up on 23.
Coming 23.
It's not that she doesn't tell me. It's just I don't necessarily remember until it gets close.
Okay, this is going to sound very familiar to conversations that my wife and I have had. She's like, "I told you that." I'm like, "Oh well." When we get closer, it'll be fine. I'll remember eventually. And Pete, this is just learning stuff for you. That it's a miracle that children exist at all. I'll tell you that right now.
Should I be taking notes? Is that what
I think you should play this podcast on a constant loop, because that way, when the time comes for you, your wife will be prepared, or you'll at least be properly prepared.
I'll play it for her on our wedding night. This is what we got. Looking forward to. So.
It's a lot of pressure.
Wow, that is a lot of pressure on your wedding night, Pete. One of these days I'm going to go through all the podcasts and pull together clips of weird things that Pete says. This one's definitely making it. No one should ever, just dear listeners, don't ever feel the need to play our podcast on your wedding nights. So I'm just warning you now. So you guys have been together for a while. Can I ask, how did you meet?
Well, my brother and his now wife, but at the time was his girlfriend, put together a shore house, and his wife and Kathy were best friends in high school. So she pulled Kathy in and he pulled me in because basically they wanted our money, and we met down the shore.
I believe that. Which shore are you at?
Sea Isle.
Sea Isle. Oh, good things always happen in Sea Isle, right, Pete?
I've never been to Sea Isle.
You go to LBI. That's right. I forgot.
Long Beach Island.
That's right. And it's been nothing but roses and joy ever since then, right?
Well, there's been
we
challenges.
do have children.
Oh, okay.
So.
That's right. Yeah. And how old are your children now?
They are 18, 16, and 13.
2 boys and a girl, right?
Yes.
Girls in the middle?
Yes.
And recently celebrated her 16th birthday.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Very nice. So I'm curious. Once you started dating, about how long was it until you got hitched?
It was a year.
A year, really?
Well, we were engaged for a year.
Oh, engaged.
We dated for a year. We were engaged for a year. It
But
wasn't
we knew
quite a
in
year for the
2 months.
for the dating.
Really?
2 months.
It was like that, huh?
It was like
Lightning
that.
had struck. Hey? Very nice.
was
What were you doing at the time? Where were you in your lives when you met up for the first time?
I was working for a software company, but it got sold, and it was my job before that. I was working for a company that actually closed.
Yeah.
That's one of the reasons we waited to get engaged until I was back gainfully employed.
Mm-hmm.
That was a couple months.
Right.
And you were in grad school.
I don't think I had started yet. When we started dating.
Yeah,
but
when
then,
we started
right.
dating, you were in grad school.
Wow. Where were you in grad school?
At Rutgers in
At
Camden.
Rutgers. For what?
Master's in Public Administration.
Okay. Very good. Well, let's see. Dating while unemployed or soon to be unemployed and in graduate school.
Correct.
Well, my
no
unemployed
difficulties there.
wasn't all that bad. It was only 6 weeks.
Oh, that's good. That's good. When my wife and I were friends before we got married. Before we start. Actually, I was just telling my son this the other day. We never had a first date. We were friends, and then one day we weren't friends any longer. We were more than friends. And if we had to figure out when that day was, we think it happened on a trip to Walmart. That's all we could really figure it out. But one day, yeah, I know, it was very strange. I think it was actually the first time I'd ever been to a Walmart. But yeah, and so Pete, take this down. All relationships are different, and you never know how they're going to start.
And great things happen at Walmart.
Our first official date included her brothers.
Oh, really?
Right.
Well, it's good to get the family in early. That's nice. That's good. Speaking of her brothers, were they difficult to, sort of bring into your daily, or not daily, but your routine as a dating person? Were they fun brothers to have to put up with?
They were both in college still, so
They were
a
away.
good chunk of it they weren't around for. So
It does help when the brothers are not around.
yeah,
That is true.
It wasn't difficult.
Father Rob didn't cause any problems, and Frank didn't have any issues.
No, not really. No,
I've met
they
them,
were
and
good.
I find that hard to believe. But okay, that's all right.
They were
afraid
busy.
of me.
Yeah, they were.
Oh, well, that helps. That helps a great deal.
Yes.
Okay, that helps.
You both grew up in this area in South Jersey?
She did.
I did.
I mostly was in Pemberton area
Okay.
by Fort Dix.
Okay.
But prior
Okay.
to that, we had moved a lot as my father was moving around in his career. All on the East Coast, from New York. I was born in New York, lived in New York, Delaware, Florida, New Jersey.
Oh, wow.
Okay. So you said it was about you guys were dating for all of 2 months before you figured out you were each other's one, eh?
Mm-hmm.
Very nice. What what helped you sort of come to that realization?
It's like
I
that
have no
cliche,
idea.
like you just know.
You just know. You just felt it in your bones.
Mm-hmm. You just knew.
Where were you married?
At St. Peter's.
Oh, in Merchantville.
In Merchantville.
Oh, very nice.
And Kathy, you are assistant principal?
I am.
You are at St. Pete's
At
School.
St. Pete's, yep.
And it's not too far. It's about 5 minutes from here.
Correct.
About 10, yeah.
That has been my dream my entire life, is to work within a 10-minute drive
It is
of where.
nice.
Yeah, it's not like that right now, but
You're going to move to Pennsauken, aren't you, Mike?
nope.
No?
No chance of that happening. But not that I have anything against Pennsauken, but I'm definitely a country boy. The farther I am away from streets, the happier I am. So, not that Glassboro's all that rural, but it's close enough to rural that I can, on those heavy days, I can drive through Elmer, New Jersey, and feel like I'm back home again.
Well, this street is very nice. It feels very homey in this area. How long have you two lived here?
17 years.
Mike's the accountant. If it's years, you have to ask him.
Okay.
17 years.
My wife is the same way. I married a financial analyst, and
There you
that made life so much easier. Yeah. My finances are in order.
Okay.
There's 17 years.
17 years. Okay.
Oh.
And how, when you were, so let's see, married 23 years, you have an 18-year-old, so it was 5 years of blissful marriage before the first child came, right?
It was a lot of fun. We had a lot of fun.
That's good.
Yeah.
Were you good? Now, one of the keys I find to being a good married couple is the ability to travel well. Over the course of your marriage and maybe in the early years, and did you find that you traveled well together, places like vacations?
We still do. We still carve out at least twice a year where just the two of us get away. We're fortunate Kathy's parents live 2 miles away, and the kids are very comfortable at their house and stuff, and they're very good about taking them. So we always go away for a couple of days over our anniversary, and then a couple of days over Christmas to do some shopping, and you just get a little away. And then we'll try to squeeze in some other things depending on how it works out.
I have a friend. I may have talked about this on the podcast before, but his parents, and he and his wife have tried to do this as well. They would have his parents. His mom would have a week's vacation with her girlfriends. His dad would have a week's vacations with his guy friends, and then the family would have a week's vacation together, or thereabout. Maybe not a whole week, but thereabout. And they said that was one of the keys to having a good marriage, was just time getting away by yourselves a little bit and then getting away as a family. But I think getting away as a married couple, there's a lot of sense in that as well.
Well, Kathy does usually try to go away for a long
have a girls' weekend.
A weekend. They don't go far. I get too much traveling for work, so I'm not as up for
traveling
away.
again.
I'd rather stay home.
That's true. That is a good point. When you travel a lot, that is difficult. That is true. So, I like, this is a very sensible couple, Pete. I like they seem to do things with a little bit of forethought and with the idea of keeping things simple. I like that. Would you say that how have you, like, I'm assuming like any married couple over the course of 23 years, drama has probably creeped into your marriage from time to time, certainly having 3 kids. I'm curious, how in those, difficult times, how do you sort of handle it? How do you come to grips with it? How do you work through it?
Well, we don't seem to have little problems. We've had, our oldest son was developmentally delayed. And that was quite the challenge early in our marriage. And then I got cancer about 4 years ago, a little more than 4 years ago. Those are probably the 2 biggest challenges we've went through.
Wow.
Communication and faith.
Really?
Yes.
Just talking to each other?
Absolutely. Spending time. We also teach pre-Cana, and our talk is communication. So we always try to stress to couples, you just have to make time to talk, whether it's at dinner or after the kids go to bed, or even if it's like, a half hour every day, just talking to one another.
And we were on a good roll there for a while when nobody had anything Saturday mornings. We would get up and just the kids would be sleeping. The 2 of us would go to breakfast.
Yeah, our kids are teenagers, so they never get up. So we have like the whole morning to ourselves.
I'm sorry, Pete. I'm curious. Would you say parenting has been easier or different as the kids are teenagers versus when they were young kids?
Well, definitely different.
Different.
Not
easier.
It's probably harder in a lot of ways. You become more of a Uber driver. They have more activities now, and they have more friends. They all went to, the two oldest went to Camden Catholic, and our youngest is going to go there. So a lot of their friends don't live necessarily all that close. So getting them together is a chore. They've all been very active and stuff. So that takes a good chunk. And then, trying to stay involved with their stuff. I coach my son's basketball. I'm involved in the play at Camden Catholic. Track, cross country.
The play.
Yeah, so all those things we try to stay involved in. So it makes for busy times for you.
So I'm sorry, Pete. Once again, one more question, just because you said something prior to that. I just want to get back to you talked about faith as well.
Absolutely.
So how do you make your faith part of your marriage successfully?
I think. I don't know.
It's conscious.
Yeah, we just.
Well, that's a good sign.
I feel like we just constantly inspire one another to be people of faith. We never. We're always like, going to mass and special events and.
Yeah.
Like I know he is a man of prayer, and he knows that I am too. And when we pray the rosary, we just make time for that.
I'm curious. Do you pray together or do you pray separately?
Sometimes.
Really?
It's a bit of both.
Yeah, there was an event at school where a baby got injured. And that's what we did. We came home as a family and prayed.
No, it's very nice. If I have any complaint about. Not complaint. If I have anything, the criticism of my own marriage is I don't think we get a chance, my wife and I get a chance to pray together as much as we probably should or can. And we were very good about, actually, I'll admit that we used to be very good about going to masses together. But recently my son became an altar server and my wife became a lector, and they both do it at 8:30 mass. And there are some 8:30 mornings that I'll get up and get everyone prepared. But once I've got everything prepared, jumping into the shower isn't necessarily the first thing I want to do. And I have gotten a little lazy about that. I think I need to
we have
redirect.
Yeah,
Kathy's
it's difficult.
She's an extraordinary minister and a lector. I'm an extraordinary minister, and our youngest son's a altar server. So
and he's in the choir.
And he's in the choir. So we have challenges sometimes with the schedule, but for the most part, we try, if all possible, we all go to mass together. Sometimes we have to split because of one will be scheduled at one mass and one at another mass. But for the most part, we do mass together.
That is one of the issues for me, because I'll end up, because of the job, I'm all over South Jersey taking photos. So I'm like, and I always invite and encourage my wife and child to come to any of the masses I have to shoot around the area. But having lived with me in the secular world and having come to events that I have to work at, my wife has now learned that it's just not worth being there with me, because I won't be present. I will be on the job the entire time. Like I tell people that when I have to shoot a mass, on a Sunday, I still have to go to mass anyway, because I'm just not focused on the mass because of what I'm doing.
Well, I think one good thing about, and people joke, like when you work for a Catholic elementary school, like really you're hiring the whole family.
Yeah.
So, if I have an open house, Mike is always, helping before, after, and the kids are there, and they're always like student ambassadors for the open house. So everyone's kind of roped in anyway. So that helps.
How long have you been working in Catholic education?
9 years.
9 years. All at St. Pete's?
Yes, all at St.
Okay.
Pete's. Mm-hmm.
Have you? I have to imagine. It's funny. You just said that. I think that's beautiful that the family becomes a part of that. But I wonder if having worked at St. Pete's maybe has had a positive effect on the family as well, because you've been able to make religion a constant part, or faith a constant part of your life.
Definitely.
9 to 5.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sure it's one of the influences that you don't think about. It just kind of naturally became part of our life.
And Kathy, I apologize. I met you when you were advancement director.
That's right.
At the school. I apologize. I said, nice to meet you. And I'm like, wait a minute. I know I met you before. So wanted to correct that. But this is a nice, one of the things I keep hearing about is, when they talk about families, eating together, meals is important. Is that something you try to do as much as you can with the whole family?
Absolutely.
Yeah, and we get into ruts sometimes where One
Weeknights
kid's
are
off
really
here,
hard.
One kid's off
Yeah.
there, but we'll always make sure that at least once in the week, whoever's like Chris is off in college right now, so he's not part of it, but we'll have dinner together at least, or lunch, and just sit
Where's he at college now?
at DeSales.
Oh, okay. Ooh, nice school. The okay, and your daughter's a junior, sophomore. Okay. The and your youngest is in 8th grade.
8th grade, correct.
Hey, look at this! I'll know the whole family by the time I'm out of here. I'll remember this and never need it again. The it's funny eating together. Yeah, the one of the things that's always been difficult for us, even though we only have one child, is finding the time to actually get together. Just recently, earlier in the month of January, I had realized that none of us had a meal together in the house. We'd gone out to eat a couple of times, but we were never together in the house. And my wife was complaining a little bit because she's like, "Oh man, we haven't had a meal in the house at all." And I said, "Yeah, but we spent a lot of time together outside of the house." To the point where we were talking about the benefits of eating at home versus eating out at a restaurant. Now this is going to sound strange, but I think I enjoy eating out in restaurants a little bit more, only because you're not fighting to get everything on the table in an amount of time and then cleaning everything up afterwards, as opposed to actually sitting together for an hour. Grant you, all three of us, and I'm sure it's the same for you with 3 teenagers, fighting to keep the electronic devices off the table. Oh, no, that's not an issue,
made that
huh?
rule a long time ago.
Really? You've been
Yeah.
very good about that, eh?
Unless like if one of the kids is out, we might keep the phone in case because a lot of times if Angelina in early or something, they call for a ride,
Yeah.
or if we get an emergency call. But other than that, they don't use their phones at the table.
That's outstanding.
It's not that long,
Yeah.
so no, it's just that's what we do.
I think that's a good policy.
I've heard about families when they go out to eat, what you were saying, and if they all have cell phones, they all put them in the middle of the table, and if somebody grabs it, they have to pick up the check for everybody.
I like that. That's a nice rule too.
Yeah.
That's a good one for adults. I'm very much in favor of that.
Not working with the kids.
No, I can imagine.
I'd be
I can
washing
imagine.
dishes.
But I'll next time we're out with another couple, I may create that rule. I like that a lot.
Yeah.
Though in my job, I may end up paying for a lot of dinners.
Remind me to go out to dinner with you about that.
No, so just getting back to sort of, over 23 years, so that's an example of a rule you've created and has seen success. Mm-hmm. Have there been other, and I don't mean this strictly, but have there been other rules that you've created to sort of keep yourselves on track?
For Mike and I, or for the
Both, for the family and for the two of you.
So there's 2 rules that we've implemented. One that I really started with my mom. It's called the 24-hour rule.
Okay.
So if you have done something egregious to the other person, they have 24 hours or you can't bring it up. That's it.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Oh, I like that
Yeah,
rule.
yeah.
Wow, I
So
can
there's
make that
no
rule
like
work.
harboring
Yeah.
all of that
I like that.
anxiety and
Wow, I really like that
stress.
rule. I'm
So
gonna have to
yeah,
take that rule.
and so yeah, and the other person's like, 24 hours have passed. You gotta
I
let
don't
that
need to hear
go.
about it
Yeah.
anymore.
You're
All
done.
right, that's a good rule.
Yeah.
I like that.
And then my kids absolutely hate this rule, but I implemented the House of Kindness rule. It's the House of Kindness. So, like we would be sitting at the table and, their jokes are being made, maybe feelings are being hurt, everyone's trying to be funny. And I was like, not going to happen.
Yeah.
Because this is a House of Kindness. And I make them say it. And then I pretend that I can't hear it. And I make them say it louder. And they really hate it. And I said, well, why aren't we saying that? This is a House of Kindness. I'm like, I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
But it's worked very well.
I like that a lot. I
Yeah.
really do. I come from a family that really only knows how to speak in sarcasm.
Right.
And so I've learned to appreciate that. But I have noticed my son's 10, and he has definitely picked up on the Walsh sense of humor, which is a lovely sense of humor to have, right up until you cross a line.
Right.
And he has occasionally crossed those lines. And I will absolutely use the House of
Yes.
Kindness retort from here on.
It also can spill into the car of kindness. Yeah.
Now that I can see a lot.
Yes.
My sister and I got into a lot of fights in
Yes.
cars, so
Yeah.
that I understand.
Yeah, and it's great because we all call each other out on it.
Well, good.
They'll call me out on it, or Mike, or each other. So.
It is good to know that Well, it's not good to know, but it's reassuring, I think, for some people to realize that none of us are perfect
Right.
at all times. And actually, I was having this. I forget who I was having this conversation with, but that it's good to model for children, period. But it's good to even model when you're wrong for children and how to be wrong in a positive way.
Right.
That it's good for them to see you screw up and then how you dealt with that screw up.
Right.
And Kathy, I'm curious. We talked about the Irish for vocations. Vocation. Obviously yours to marriage, and your brother, Father Rob, to the priesthood. How does that? How has that been a factor in your life? Having your brother as a priest, and just with the family, what's the impact?
A lot of free blessings. A lot of free blessings.
It actually was really great when I got sick.
Yeah.
When I got cancer. I couldn't go to church in the beginning. For the first couple of weeks, he came.
Oh.
He did mass. He brought me communion and stuff.
Yeah, he's fantastic like that, coming over to do mass if we're sick, after each, child was born, he came over, did mass. So it was really nice.
That is nice.
Yeah.
So he wasn't ordained when you two were married? No, not yet. Okay.
No, he wasn't. He hadn't made his decision yet when we got married.
Correct.
So we've been through it since the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
Oh wow.
It actually, I don't think. Well, I guess it subtly impacted our lives, but
Yeah.
it didn't really feel like it impacted our lives.
He's like, really, when we're all together, he's like our fourth child.
Okay, that I can absolutely see. Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
we-
great because he knows all about the superheroes and all the stuff
All the
that
things
we're
we
not
don't know.
really in touch with.
That's why we like having him on the podcast.
So he knows all of that stuff. So the kids go crazy. They love him.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
We talk a lot about. I'm big in superheroes, so we've been
Okay.
Dungeons. He got me a Dungeon Dragons
Oh yeah.
book, so we can play together.
You want
Yeah.
a fifth kid? You can have
Teaching
Pete too.
him.
Oh,
He lives
super.
nearby. It'd be fine. He cleans up well. So speaking of the kids, so you've laid out a couple of rules, and they certainly seem to be good, motivated kids. College, Catholic school, whatnot. I'm curious. Have you ever gotten any feedback from them about what they think of your marriage and what they think of you as parents? Have they been positive? Have they like, we can do it better, we can do it worse?
I don't know if they've ever really talked about it.
Oh, give it another 10 years.
I don't think so.
Maybe that's the kind of conversation you have when you're
When
about
your
to
kids
get
are
married.
older,
Yeah.
yeah.
Maybe I'm asking this 5 years too soon for you.
Maybe, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
We're still trying to pull out what they've done
Yeah.
during the day. So we haven't made it to that next level.
That's true. That is,
of
but that
awareness.
is it. That has actually kind of been the nicest thing that I've noticed. Just talking about as family life as you get older is, you have so much. The conversations with your parents become so improved. When you can
absolutely.
sort of not necessarily eye to eye. I rely on my parents still to this day for guidance every now and again. My
Yep.
mom worked in Catholic schools for 30 years, so every now and again, as a fairly new employee of the diocese of all of 3.5 years, I'll share a story with her, and she'll go, "Yeah, I've been there, Mike. I know how to handle that. Let me give you some advice."
Nice.
That's always good to have. So we never stop being our parents helping us.
No, never.
So I'm curious, in addition to some of these rules that you shared with us, do you have any, in your role as working as in pre-Cana, do you have any suggestions for soon-to-be married couples or newly married couples?
Well, probably the biggest thing is communication. Is have open communications and understand that you have to listen. You can't just say what you want. You have to listen, and you have to be able to adapt.
Yeah.
I look at when we first got married, and we joke about this, but it's totally true. When we first got married before we had kids, we'd wake up on Saturday morning and say, "What do you want to do?" Now we wake up and say, "What do we have to do?"
Yeah,
Yeah, very different.
that's a good point.
We made the transition to each of the different phases together. It wasn't like one of us was here and the other one's still back there. We worked all the way through. One of the other things that we do is you kind of put things in how important is this to me and how important it is to your partner. So we don't fight about a lot of things, because if it's really important to her and I don't really care, then we just do what she wants. And vice versa, though. The only time we even have to debate things is when we both feel it's kind of important and we don't agree.
Yeah.
But most of the times when we both feel it's important, we usually do agree. And I think that's,
Your firstborn?
No,
Or
I'm the middle of 5.
And you're the middle.
No,
Or you're
she's
the,
the first.
I'm the
one.
oldest.
you're the eldest. Okay. All right. My wife and I are both firstborns. So every now and again there are, we're never wrong, my wife and I. Even if we disagree on something, we're never wrong. So figuring out which of us is more wrong or less wrong is sometimes the way to go. So that's in the early years.
Yeah, I think a lot of it is like, who's it more important to?
Yeah.
Right.
That's a good way of looking at it.
Yeah, like, the colors of the rooms. She had a strong opinion. I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
It looks good. Yeah, I'm fine.
Yeah. This is a nice green in here. I'll tell you that.
Thank you.
I was gonna say I was gonna say forest green, but it's a
No,
little
this
too
isn't
light for
forest green.
forest.
It's a little more sageous.
Yes.
Sage. Okay, well that's still kind of a plant, right?
Yeah.
Forest, sage, they're in the same family.
Yep. That's right, Pete.
They're both green.
Definitely a plant that's green. Nailed it.
I'm with you. It's green.
For those
I'm
of you
still good with the 8 box of crayons.
for those of you who need help decorating your homes, may I recommend Pete Sanchez to paint
Well,
it very.
I do like the sage. It's a very warm color. I do have to say.
Thank you.
To which I take no credit.
Yeah.
Mike's not
I
convinced.
don't know if I would call it warm.
I don't know. I kind of like. I like the mellow.
It's a soothing color.
Thank you, soothing. Okay, warm, soothing. It's the same.
Okay, sure.
Anyway,
It's all good.
I like when we digress like this in the podcast because I know that people are listening to this going, "Oh man, what's Mike going to pull out of Pete now?"
that's why I'm not an interior decorator. I am a reporter. Well, but Kathy and Mike, I'm curious. You got me saying that too, Mike. I'm curious.
Well, this is the podcast is based on curiosity.
It is.
No need to apologize about that.
But I'm wondering about your two, talking about growing up. Did your family lives growing up, your parents, how did they inform where you are now with your own marriage?
Yeah, I guess I never really thought about it. My parents were both Catholic, and there was no such thing as missing mass or anything like that. So we grew up with them. My aunt is a Carmelite nun. My father's cousin was a priest. So we've had all those in the family, just like Kathy has.
Mm-hmm.
I guess you don't. We never really thought about it. It's just kind of the way it was.
Yeah.
Big family. We always ate together. Dinner was 6:30. With my father, and everybody was there. Often there was extra people there. I never really gave it a lot of thought and probably modeled it unconsciously.
I would say the same.
I think there's a natural inclination to do that. My family growing up and my wife's family growing up, very different. So when we first got together, she had basically never lived on her own aside from a short stint at college, whereas I had been on my own for 6 years, I think.
That's about the same as us.
Yeah,
I
and
was saying that.
Okay.
and that first year was difficult, particularly since she had only known her parents' way of living, and then we got together, and it was eye-opening for both of us. Because once again, we're never wrong,
Right.
even if we don't agree. But I think back to that first year of marriage, my own marriage, from time to time, and we didn't do pre-Cana. We did a couple of different. We did an engaged encounter, and we did something else, and I think sometimes it was the luck of the draw as to what kind of prep work you got before your wedding. And in the year since, I never really lamented what happened because Father Joe Byerly did a lot of work with us, and he was actually wonderful. As a matter of fact, and I've said this before, I curse his name repeatedly because anytime life got really difficult, and there were thoughts of one of us was going to kick the other to the curb, I was often reminded that it's the responsibility of a spouse to get their husband or wife into heaven. And then during those really dark times, that immediately that would pop back into my head, and I go, all right, I got a job to do. Let me go back in here and see what I can do. And same thing with her. So, but I often think that a lot of young couples, as they're considering marriage, they really aren't properly formed. And that's why you end up getting a lot of divorces, because I think sometimes young people don't really understand what a commitment it is and how much
Right.
you need to be A, mentally prepared, B, certain in the person you're marrying and sort of going into it with eyes wide open. And even I know there were areas where I had blinders on in the early days, which had I not, it would have, not that I would have married somebody else, but it would have helped in those first couple of years. How do you counsel young people as they're considering marriage?
Yeah, I guess it's probably, I feel like it's better not to know what's ahead.
Really?
Yeah, I do.
Wow, that's a
I do.
surprise.
I think it's better to go in
Blind?
all excited and you have all that. But I think as long as you respect the other person, like Mike and I have great respect for one another, so you can really overcome anything.
Wow, that is not the answer I was expecting.
Well, one of the things we tell them is, you're going to have problems. Everybody does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The real key is, what do you do with the problems? You can run from them, you can blame each other, or you can try to fix them. What we've chose to do is to get together and try to fix anything that, any problem.
And we're both type A, tenacious, never give up type of
That helps.
never give in
Yeah.
type of mentality, which helps.
And we know we can rely on each other to pick the other one up when times are bad, or when I was sick, I basically did nothing for 4 months. Just treatment, and I tried to work a little bit, but she took care of all the kids. There was nothing for me to worry about. I was sleeping 16 hours a day, and she took care of everything, and I didn't have to worry about it.
Yeah.
So it helped me heal and do what I had to do.
That is nice. That's very nice. We've had, my wife and I have had moments like that, and not to that severity, but we've had moments like that. And I will say that I do think if it's a good relationship, something clicks over in your brain and you go, okay, time to step up, get stuff done. Let's work on this. And then when things even out again, then we can have an argument. But, it's just
Right.
get the
And
job
I think
done.
too, what we had early on was because our son was diagnosed with a developmental delay, and because we had all of those problems, tremendous problems in the beginning, there's no competition with other couples
Yeah.
or with other families. You can't compete at the level of the quote unquote, normal family.
Yeah.
So none of that stuff ever bothered us. We never compared ourselves to other families because we had our own thing going.
Yeah.
And so we kind of could turn inward, and we had each other.
Wow.
Whereas we're not trying to, one up, the Joneses or
Yeah.
however people do. And I think people really get trapped in that, thought process.
I would agree with that. I agree with that a lot. That was you're a very healthy couple. It's
thank you.
psychologically,
Yeah.
as far as I can tell.
I think just for an individual, I'm still single and God willing, I still feel called to marriage. I don't know if it'll happen. I mean, I'm hopeful. I'm open to God's will. But I think with just for the attitude of not keeping up with the Joneses is good for individuals as well.
Sure.
You know,
Absolutely.
you're just caught up in, and that definitely that's good advice for anybody.
Yeah, trying
think.
to do what other people do is not good for yourself. Because first of all, what makes you think you even want that?
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
And how do you even know it's true,
Right,
what people
that's
put
true,
out
too.
there?
That's true. That's yes, very much so in the social media world. I tell people that all the time. Don't believe what you see on
Yeah.
Instagram.
Well,
You know.
that's a good segue, Mike, with social media, because I see with this dawn of Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, communications, even with my friends, I consider myself old school. I still like talking on the phone, talking face to face. Some of my other friends are big into texting, which is good. I kind of like texting. Is there, with you doing pre-K and talking to couples, is that more of a, I don't want to say a problem, but a challenge? The social media aspect of communication, how...
I don't think we've really even addressed it in our talk. And so
That's
right
good.
now, I
We
don't
should
think I
add
thought
it.
about it. Our talk about communication is really about one-on-one for the most part, and then all the different ways you can communicate with your partner. We don't really talk about communicating beyond your family. We do talk about a little bit about the dynamics of your families and how that's going to impact your marriage. But social media, for one thing, we would definitely be the wrong people. You
Yeah.
do more because of work, but
Only 'cause I
personally,
have to for work.
I do happy birthdays, and I might like a picture, and
Yeah.
that's about it. You do just the work stuff pretty much, and we don't really use social media personally, so we'd probably be bad examples there.
I won't hold it against you. I love social media. I love everything about it. I've thrown myself into it. I'm a social media maven. It's funny. It just for me, and I'm not denigrating anybody and how they use it or they choose not to use it. Communications tools have advanced over since book was since the Gutenberg Bible and before that. For me, it's just a new way of communicating, but you have to figure out how to do it wisely versus unwisely. Since the last time we talked, actually, when did we record the last podcast, Pete?
Was a week ago today.
I did the next day was when I did, or later that week was when I did I gave a presentation at my son's school, right? About lay vocations, and in the midst of it, whenever I'm talking with young people, I try to get social media in there, and I was talking about social media, and I said, okay, now listen, what is the most famous line? Your brother will appreciate this. You two can tune out right now. What is the most famous line from the Spider-Man comics and movies, Pete?
With great power comes great responsibility.
And I explained that communications is a very powerful tool, and that social media is a form of communications. It's a very powerful tool, and that if you have this powerful tool at your disposal, whether it's YouTube or Snapchat or Instagram or Facebook or any of the other ones that are out there, comes great responsibility with it. And that you need to keep that in your mind, that whenever you're putting stuff out there, and remember that much like your daily lives talking to each other, it's possible to be a bully, and you want to be using your communications tool to help people rise up, not to knock them down. And I will say that who knows if they'll actually take it to heart, but at least I could tell they were paying attention. I was very, very pleased about that. So shout out to the teachers at St. Michael's for preparing good students.
I'm glad you did that. That's kind of the top, I guess you could say that stewardship too. Be mindful of God's gifts. That's right. And, respecting everything and using it for good instead of...
If you ask me, you can use that line for everything, including marriage. Great power comes great responsibility. It's like, although I'm not sure, I don't have much power over my wife, but I will tell you that I have great responsibility for getting her into heaven.
I like that.
Much like she does for me. We're gonna end the podcast right now, but I'm curious, any last thoughts for people who are considering marriage or people who have been in marriage maybe for years? Any? Aside from
it's worked very well for us.
Okay, well, there you go. Still a solid institution, much to be gained from it.
Absolutely. We take it very seriously, and we always say in our pre-Cana talk as well that it's really our job to lift the other person up, just like you were saying. Like it's my job to make Mike the best man that he can be, and we take that seriously, and he does the same for me.
I can tell you, this has been an absolutely delightful conversation. I'm really, really very happy that Father Sinatra recommended the two of you, because
it's almost hard to remember what it was like before we were married.
Really?
Yeah.
Have you found? Do you find that you feel a little more complete than you did when you were single?
Oh gosh,
really? Yeah.
Absolutely.
So.
Well, can I just ask Kathy, at St. Peter's School, is anything going on that you want to promote?
There's always stuff going on at St. Peter's.
Well, let's see. For enrollment, go to...
That's right. You can go right on our website, stpeterschool.org. Okay. We just had a few open houses during Catholic Schools Week, but you can absolutely call the school, and I'll schedule an appointment with them, and happy to give them a personal tour.
And is that St. Peter's School? Is that SAINT?
STPETER school.org.
Okay. Wonderful. Well,
thank you.
I'll see you guys at church, because that is my church too. I know I've run into you. Now I know who you are. I saw the face. Now I know the name, Michael. So I'm happy to say hello next time.
When you're giving out communion, sometimes you forget to look at the face.
Mm-hmm. You get in that zone.
Yeah, because it's just person after person after person, and you get into that habit of, do I have enough hosts? And you're looking up and you're looking at the person next to you. How many hosts do they have? I'll try to pay more attention.
That's funny. All right, Pete. Well, make sure you text Father Sinatra as we're leaving, and let him know that he did a good job today by giving us his sister and his brother-in-law.
Yeah, maybe we should all take a picture together and send it to him.
Well, yeah, that's right. We should. Yeah, that's a great idea.
Well, thank you, Father Up. Thank you, Kathy. Thank you, Michael. And all the best
pleasure.
with everything.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, dear listeners. Talk to you later.